Hey guys, it's Danconia. Welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup 2020 Team of Week 1 of the playoffs. So, did you think you were going to get away without a Team of the Week for these playoffs? We have 2 weeks of playoffs, then we have the Grand Finals. That means 3 more Team of the Weeks. And this one is a chunky one because, well, there's been a lot of matches and a lot of interesting stuff going on. And it's going to be a different looking Team of the Week this week around because we're going to see some of the people we've seen before, and we're also going to see some new faces, and perhaps a player that maybe could have appeared in a previous Team of the Week, but definitely deserves to be in this one. So, we are going to start off with our main support, which generally has been occupied by a Lucio or a Mercy this week in our new meta, thanks to the Hog buffs and stuff like that. And I've got an honourable mention for the Los Angeles Valiant and Rain here, who I think has had a very good week. The Valiant got swept by the Philadelphia Fusion eventually, but the Fusion are a very good team and Valiant can compete with that. However, in their previous match, where they managed to sneak a 3-2 victory over the Florida Mayhem, Rain looked very good and looked like he was getting a lot of value, but he's not going to be my pick for this spot because I'm going to give it to Li Gon of the Shanghai Dragons. And the reason I'm giving it to him for this is because against the NYXL, which is who we saw the Shanghai Dragons against this week, they ran dive, and they continuously ran dive. And at the moment we're seeing 2 distinct comps. We're either seeing dive, or we are seeing Roadhog, whether that be Roadhog Zarya or Roadhog Diva. And some teams are getting joy with both. Washington Justice, obviously notably with that Hog Zarya, and Shanghai being one of those teams that are getting a lot of joy out of dive. It can depend on region, obviously, but we saw a lot of Hog from Chengdu and from London Spitfire. So this is an interesting one, and I really liked the way in which Shanghai were engaging into the NYXL. They were aggressive, they weren't letting them dawdle around, and this was all on the back of Li Gon with his speed boosts in, getting Fearless and Void into the fight. It was really good. It was really well executed dive alongside Lip and Fletter. Normally we saw a lot of Tracer Sombra, and we've seen actually quite a bit of that across the regions, or an Ashe Tracer or an Ashe Sombra. So I think this has been really beneficial to Li Gon because he's either been on that Mercy or been on that Lucio. And either way, he's looked really good. And a lot of us know Li Gon as a Lucio player, but he's great at flexing to that Mercy. And yes, he may not be the best Mercy in the league, but he certainly does not fall to one of the worst Mercies in the league. And he was enabling his team left, right and centre, whether it be with that damage boost from the Mercy Caduceus staff, or whether it be with that speed boost in for Fearless, for Void, to get them into the fight and to just stomp the NYXL in some team fights. The execution on some of those team fights was fantastic from the Shanghai Dragons, as we expect from this team right now. And it's on the back of that speed boost in, that utility from that Lucio player. Li Gon, he can get a little bit aggressive sometimes and get the frags, but he got the balance really well this week. I think he struck the balance really well this week. We've seen him at times overextend, we've seen him feed at times, and I think this week he got it perfect, and that's why I want to give him this spot. But our second support, this is where it's spicy. I have honorable mentions first for Dogman. He looked good for the Atlanta Rain against the Paris Eternal, but I think he looked lackluster against the San Francisco Shock. Alarm, he is as good as ever for the Philadelphia Fusion, that's without a doubt. Alarm is a very consistently high-performing player. Violet as well of the San Francisco Shock. But I'm giving it, for the first time this season and the only time this season, to a Boston Uprising player. It's Myungbong. It has been a long time coming that a Boston Uprising player has managed to worm their way onto this Team of the Week. I think Myungbong genuinely deserves it. Boston Uprising got that surprise 3-1 victory over the Houston Outlaws. I don't think a lot of people actually predicted this. The meta kind of favoured the Boston Uprising with that chaos in it. And yes, Boston ended up falling short in the end, but I still don't think this is on the back of Myungbong. He is one of the best players in this Boston Uprising side, if not the best. Him and Jerry are fantastic, and Jerry will be cropping up a little bit later on as an honorable mention, because those two were fantastic this weekend, despite the later result for the Boston Uprising against the Atlanta Rain, where they did end up losing. But Myungbong He is such a great spine for this Boston Uprising team. His sleeps, his nades, especially in this hog meta, have been fantastic and really enabled the Boston Uprising to flourish, especially against the Houston Outlaws, where they picked them apart at times. And what I found fascinating is we saw a bit of Danto Tracer from the Houston Outlaws, and Myungbong a lot of the time could go 1v1 him and actually win, which was, you know, if you have that from your Ana, then you are set up for success in a lot of scenarios, because your Ana becomes very self-sustaining. She doesn't have to have as much peel from the Diva that Punk was running, or the Fusion's Roadhog that they were running. They can do more damage, they can get in the fight more, which means they're proactively putting more pressure on the opposition and allowing the Boston Uprising to pop off more, and it's allowing for those individual plays to really, really shine. I think Myungbong has been fantastic this week. He is definitely not a weak link for this Boston Uprising side, he never has been, but he really stood out this week, and I think he does deserve this spot. And I'm glad that we could get a Boston Uprising player, which means, unfortunately, this entire season it will be only Vancouver that don't have a player in this Team of the Week at all. So yeah. Again, there'll be a video coming up eventually on who made it into Team of the Weeks across the season, and it's very, very interesting actually, and I'm sure I'll get roasted for it. Anyway, moving on to our tanks. Tanks look a bit different this week because we've seen a lot of Zarya Roadhog, Diva Roadhog, we've sometimes seen Winston Diva, we've seen Winston... It's been all over the place. So this is designated off-tank spot, but a normal off-tank player is not occupying it, because I could not give this to anyone else but Decay of the Washington Justice, and I don't think really there are many arguments against that. Decay has been a revelation on the Zarya for the Washington Justice during this first playoffs week. I don't think anyone has any arguments. The Washington Justice would not be in the position they are in, still in the playoffs by the way, without Decay. He got 5 kills in one fight, I think, at one point against the Paris Eternal. It is frightening what he is doing on the Zarya. And then you see that Stitch and Tuba are being enabled as well, and it becomes a very frightening prospect to take on this Washington Justice side. I'm not sure that there's a Zarya in the league that can match Decay right now, and therefore the Washington Justice have a very, very powerful weapon in their arsenal, and he is just eradicating teams from the game right now. Eradicating them. His charge is great. He's had some up and down grabs. One thing I will say for Decay is that sometimes his grabs are 5-head, massively, massively big brained, and we have seen him whiff a few grabs. Not gonna lie. But he seems to still be able to get that value. And he's getting tons of value in the neutral fight as well. He's not relying on his grabs, which is great. Decay is he's a phenomenon during these playoffs, and if it continues, the Washington Justice really could cause big... Well, they've already caused big upsets, but they could cause much bigger upsets going forward. So yeah, Decay gets this off-tank spot for his Zarya play, and I think he well deserves it. But moving to what we would call main tank, and we are going to talk about 2 traditionally main tank players. So the first honorable mention is Sado of the Philadelphia Fusion. So Philadelphia Fusion have been reluctant. Well, actually, they haven't played the Hog meta. They've played Dive. They've been the Shanghai Dragons of North America, and I understand that, and it has worked very, very well for them against the 2 LA teams. Very, very well. Sado's aggression has been perfect on the Winston. Absolutely perfect. I loved the hold that they were performing on first point of Numbani, where they were going hyper aggressive. I absolutely loved that hold. I think it was fantastic, and a lot of it was on the back of Sado's engagements. Really, really, really good. Really good. But I want to give this to Gesture of the Soul Dynasty. And the reason I want to give this to Gesture, we've seen quite a bit of Jester's Roadhog, and I think we've seen more flexibility from Jester than a lot of main tanks in the league, where some main tanks have been stuck straight to the Hog, like Fusions at the Boston Uprising. Some, like Sado, have stuck straight to the Winston. Gesture, he'll play anything he needs to, but Gesture's ability and his game awareness to know where to be at the perfectly right time to get a hook and to get a pick is phenomenal. Maybe unmatched in the entire league. It is crazy what Gesture has been doing on the Hog this weekend for the Soul Dynasty, and it is a major part why they have stomped both the Hangzhou Spark and the Guangzhou Charge. So Gesture, he's really leading the line for this Seoul Dynasty side right now. And he's perhaps popping off more than Profit, which traditionally you look at the Seoul Dynasty lineup and you think, wow, Profit's the carry here. Profit is Profit. No, it's Gesture right now. Gesture is making a massive difference on the Roadhog for Seoul Dynasty and is putting him in the position where they could be going to the grand finals, and it's not beyond doubt at all. So they have a match against the Shanghai Dragons this next weekend, and it's going to be super interesting to see what happens. But Gesture's Hog has been fantastic. His positional awareness, his awareness to know where people are going to be at the right time to get the hook, to get the pick, to get the advantage in the fight, and roll in, means that Seoul Dynasty have been nigh on unstoppable during this weekend. So I think Gesture deserves this spot, and I will be giving it to him. But now we move over to our DPS. Let's just go through the honorable mentions. Edison, I think, has been great for the Atlanta Reign. I cannot say the same for Erster. He kept blocking Reinhardt Shatters for Gator. It's not good. Fletter of the Shanghai Dragons, again, fantastic. So is Lip. We have seen great play from Jerry at the Boston Uprising. He's been fantastic this weekend alongside Myung Bong. We have seen great play from Ans. We have seen great play from Carpe. We have seen great play from Ivy. We have seen great play from, oh my lord, Fitz and Profit. But the two people I'm going to give it to. First of all, Striker of the San Francisco Shock. I think Striker has been very, very tough for teams to handle this weekend on that Tracer. Striker, we know, is a god tier Tracer. He proved that at the Boston Uprising when we had the first unbeaten stage. And he's bringing it back. That Tracer, that Striker Tracer is back. And it is frightening to go up against. And the teams that the San Francisco Shock went up against, especially the Atlanta Reign, really couldn't handle it. And he made a very big difference against the Washington Justice, getting them that narrow win, which could have easily gone the other way. And Shock could have found themselves in the loser's bracket. So I think Striker has been a very, very pivotal part to the Shock not falling to a surprise loss this weekend. I really do believe that. And I think he's finding some of his former glory on that Tracer right now. But I think, honestly, some of the best DPS play I've seen this weekend has been to my other pick. And this is Hisu of the Philadelphia Fusion. And Hisu has been sort of a mainstay for this Fusion side right now. He's either playing alongside Ivy or he's playing alongside Carpe, depending on what Fusion want to run. We've seen a lot of the Hisu Sombra, and I've been very impressed with the Hisu Sombra. He's been getting in fights, he's been getting great charge time on his EMPs, but when he uses the EMPs, he gets phenomenal value out of those EMPs. It has been fantastic play from Hisu this weekend, and I've been saying this quite a bit recently. When I looked at the Philadelphia Fusion in 2018 and 2019, I always looked at them and said, what if Carpe is injured? And my answer was always, they're messed up. They're done for. Their carry's gone. They don't have anyone that can fit his shoes. In 2020, we're looking at the Philadelphia Fusion and saying, no Carpe? No problem. They've got Ivy and Hisu. They're going to be fine. And a lot of the time, they're not even running Carpe. They're running Ivy and Hisu. I think the flexibility for the Shock right now, for the Philadelphia Fusion, is monumental. The Hisu pickup in the off-season, I thought it would be fantastic for them, and it has proved so. It has meant that they are not reliant on Carpe anymore, which I think is fantastic for this Fusion squad as a whole. Hisu has been fantastic this weekend on that Sombra especially. His EMPs, his hacks, his EMP build time as well, and his pure damage in the fight. Everything has been perfect from Hisu. I've been really impressed with his play, and he has been a major, major contributor to the fact that the Fusion have gone 6-0 against both LA teams this weekend, and they are still in that winner's bracket with a game against the San Francisco Shock coming up, which is going to be absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see that. But those are my picks for Team of the Week. Li Jie Gon, Myung Bong, Decay, Gesture, Striker, and Hisu. And I think that's a pretty okay Team of the Week. Obviously, as ever, let me know in the comments below your picks for Team of the Week, and I will gladly listen to them. I will be back tomorrow with a preview for the final part of our playoffs where we will decide the top 2 teams from North America and the APAC region going to the grand finals, which we will see in October. It is going to be amazing. They are going to be some smashing matches coming up in the next few days, and you don't want to miss it. So, I'm going to leave it here for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to, give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.